Good evening and welcome to Newsnight with Old Man of the Clan, Andrew Mwenda. He is the CEO of the Independent magazine and a journalist. My name is Charles Odongtho, and this evening in the news, we look at Bukenya versus Mbabazi. What's coming up? Andrew, you're most welcome.
Thank you.
Now, let's look at today the Bukenya letter that was penned in the Monitor in detail. What's this about?
Why did you say on the website of the Independent? That's the first place it appeared in the whole country.
Okay, fine. It was in the website, on the website of the Independent, but it is also on the Monitor, the Sunday Monitor.
Yes.
Now, very quickly, Bukenya talks about a number of things, and we are going to run through this. First of all, he talks about Amama Mbabazi's daughter running the Electoral Commission of the NRM. How far true is this?
Managing the register.
How detailed is this? Managing the election of the NRM.
He raises this issue. First of all, I have a video on my phone. Always, I have my evidence on my phone here.
It's about to be stolen when you talk a lot about it.
The video is of Otafire being interviewed by NTV, and he's saying Mbabazi's wife was the one supplying the food. Mbabazi's daughter was the one managing the register. Mbabazi's sister-in-law was the one managing this. I should tell you that it tells us something. I have this sense that the reliance on family members as vehicles for the consolidation and promotion of politics is something deeply embedded in our psyche as Ugandans, and therefore when you see President Yoweri Museveni having his wife in cabinet, having Muhoozi as commander of the special forces and Saleh involved, is not, I have come to learn over time, that it's not a very unique and arbitrary thing. Because how come, if Mbabazi is also competing to be president, people are complaining that Museveni wants a family succession. So if your daughter Nena is the one, she's not an official of the party, by the way, and she's being accused of being the one who was managing the register. Every person in NRM NEC that I talked to was saying this.
Can we just agree that the fact that Mbabazi does it and that Museveni does it does not necessarily make it an arbitrary?
No, but when Moi
both of them could be making mistakes.
No, but when Moi does it, when Kenyatta does it, when Mobutu does it, Hedema does it, when everybody does it, it means it has a structural basis. You see, if it was being done by one person, you could say, okay, that is an aberration. But when it is the practice of everyone, then it means that such a practice has a structural foundation. And once
bring it down to the Bukenya letter so that we are in sync.
So I felt that Bukenya was making a point, but Bukenya himself and his children were getting involved in these things. So the Bukenya, he had brought his children to NRM and they were part of his campaign machinery, he himself. So perhaps Uganda needs to discuss, or perhaps we need to legislate and accept that the individuals will rely a lot on their family to promote their politics. But let's come to the substantive issues Bukenya raised. You see, Bukenya's letter is politically important because Bukenya was the first senior NRM politician to say that the government is full of mafias. At that time, Bukenya was accusing Honorable Amama Mbabazi of being among those people who were the mafia fighting him. Now we see the wife of Amama Mbabazi saying that NRM is being controlled by fascists, which means that since Bukenya and Mbabazi don't belong to the same camp, you have a battle between mafias and fascists fighting inside the NRM. In other words, the quality of leadership that we have in this country and the choices we have within NRM, the different factions of NRM, we either have to choose between mafias and fascists.
Which is sad enough. Then now tie it in with the fact that he also throws a jab at the IGG, and that the IGG was used by Mbabazi, and this was something that was palpable during that election as well.
Well, I think at the point Bukenya was trying to highlight, which is very important, is that what goes around comes around. That Mbabazi is reaping what he sowed. You see, if you look at what Mbabazi is suffering from today, you have a lot of intelligence reports to the president accusing Mbabazi personally and his wife and family members being actively involved in mobilizing the population against the president. That is one. Two, the reports the president has been receiving is that Mbabazi has accumulated a lot of money which he has stashed away in China and Dubai. Three, that Mbabazi has been building alliances with foreign governments, especially the government of China and the governments of the Middle East, especially the Gulf states, with a view to use their diplomatic position to bolster his domestic political agenda. Now, if you look at the accusations that were leveled against Bukenya, which Bukenya claims were promoted by Mbabazi, they are the same. Bukenya says that Mbabazi had reported to the president, and the president called Bukenya in a meeting where Mbabazi's wife was, Mbabazi's sister-in-law, Hope Mwesija was, Mbabazi himself was. Yes, the president said, these people have told me you went to Kabale. When you were in Kabale, you were sleeping at the homes of Catholic bishops. You are trying to, yes, you are trying to build a constituency among Catholics. It turns out the guy was sleeping in a hotel, and the only bishop he visited was a Protestant bishop. Do you see? So Mbabazi, therefore, is a victim of his own machinations, according to Bukenya, because he used intelligence organizations to report falsehoods against Mbabazi. Now, the same intelligence organizations are... In fact, I'd written an article which I never published. I made decide to publish it this week after Kenya wrote this.
What did you fear? What was it about?
I had decided to dismiss it. It was to say that Mbabazi is a victim of his own things. Because Mbabazi is the first person to promote the idea that there should be term limits must be removed. Mbabazi was the first person to promote this idea of elimination of many senior leaders of the NRM and sidelining them, the Kategayas and others, and the Muhwezis and the Otafides. Now, he did not know that what he had done unto others would be done to him. And the kind of ferocious attacks you have seen, because I personally criticize NRM, disagree with NRM MPs who humiliated him and attacked him the way they did. Because Mbabazi is a very senior politician of the NRM, one of the historicals of the NRM, but he is also a Prime Minister of the country. Yeah. To treat him with disrespect and contempt, the way these kids were treated, these youthful MPs were doing, is beneath contempt. You see, there should be some level of respect. Even if Mbabazi did a wrong, you can disagree with Mbabazi without being disagreeable. You can criticize Mbabazi and without insulting him and abusing him and denigrating him. So I felt that was bad behavior. But the point that Kenya is raising, which is very important, and all other politicians involved in this debate must take cognizance of, is please, when you are in power, don't abuse it to your own advantage, because yes,
that can then benefit the country and benefit democracy.
Yes.
Now, very quickly, Andrew, come to the issue of that. One of the other issues that Bukenya raises is the issue of scheming. He called it this scheming within the party, that people go to the president and make reports which are falsehoods, and that the president believes. And he says substantially that actually, fundamentally, he does not disagree with Museveni's leadership style, but he disagrees with the fact that President Museveni himself listens to these things and accepts. Then he contradicts himself and says, if it was not because Museveni is a patient person and unemotional, he would have been charged for treason.
No,
what
but
do you make of this?
I don't think that's a contradiction. I think he's right to say that Museveni receives a lot of information. He may believe it partly, not entirely, but he will not take quick and precipitate action to punish you unless it is within security. You see how quickly he acted on the message, rather on the Tinyafuza threat. But on the Mbabazi threat, you see how he promoted the debate and the discussion. It's all protracted because that is a strategic threat, not an existential threat. If the threat came from the military, Museveni will look at it as an existential threat. But now coming to the other issue he's raising, you see, when you're president, you appoint chiefs of intelligence, right? Yep. Why do you appoint anybody as a chief of intelligence? It's because you trust them.
Yep.
They supply you information. When this information comes institutionally, what do you expect the president to do? To disregard it?
No.
So any president, I would imagine, should give first priority to official information before his personal biases. I may be President Yoweri Museveni and I like Amama Mbabazi, but my personal likes and dislikes must not take precedence over institutional generated information. Now, institutions, of course, can be captured by individuals who may use them to advance their own agenda. But one of the reasons the president appoints a chief of intelligence is to ensure that he has people he trusts, so that the information they bring to him is information he can trust. You cannot blame Museveni, therefore, for trusting information supplied to him by official intelligence organizations. Even Obama, even Cameron, even Vladimir Putin, I am sure all of them would believe their institutions.
What do you think going forward, this latest expose by Bukenya of some of these issues, and the jibe he throws at Bukenya, I mean Amama now, who looks now like going down, will do to the party?
I think that it will not.
Will it give Bukenya any more?
You see, the strength of the NRM, you should know that the strength of the NRM does not necessarily come from its internal organizational coherence.
Where does it come from?
It comes from Museveni's personality. Museveni is, I think that if Museveni lost power today, the NRM would die, like Chikano died, or UNIP. Most of these political parties in Africa that lost power. You know, UNIP in Zambia of Kaunda, the KANU of Kenya, they had been in power for 27 years, for 30 years, and all of a sudden, when they lost power, they collapsed. NRM would suffer the same fate. Unless NRM can only survive if Museveni handed over power to somebody within NRM, and Amama Mbabazi, or he handed over to, you Charles Odongo Santu, an NRM guy. He handed over.
Of course, I'm not in the line.
Yes, but the party itself lacks an ideological anchor. You see, a party like UPC was rooted in the Protestant church. It has taken him how many years, and the remnants of the UPC still exist. You have a party like DP, it was rooted in the Catholic church. In other words, it was rooted in our social realities and our social differences. If you had KY, it was rooted in the Baganda as a tribe. Now, what is the base of the NRM? And what would allow it to survive Museveni?
Bukenya calls it mass mobilization. Maybe it exists out there.
NRM
but anyway, Andrew,
let me put it this way. NRM is a state party and survives because it has the resources of the state. I don't think NRM can survive outside of state power.
Well, thank you so much. These issues are going to be continuing to play in our political domain, and as and when they play out, we shall be sure to come back and discuss them here. That was Andrew Mwenda with Newsnight.
Let's now join Malcolm Musime for the very latest in business.
This is NTV Tonight